This is a time to be smart as well as tough.
There was a ministerial statement on Monday afternoon where the Prime Minister began by offering condolences to the Speaker of the House, Lindsay Hoyle, on the death of his father and expressing solidarity with Australia after the recent attacks in Sydney. Then he addressed Iran's recent aggressive actions in the Middle East, particularly the missile and drone attack towards Israel, describing it as a reckless and dangerous escalation, emphasising the potential catastrophic consequences if the attack had succeeded, and the international response with the UK leading the way, obviously, in coordination amongst allies to counter such threats. Then came the unwavering support as the UK's commitment to Israel's security is reaffirmed, emphasising the non-negotiable nature of ensuring Israel's safety for regional peace. The UK's involvement in protecting Israel and its condemnation of Hamas's actions in Gaza underscore its stance on supporting stability in the region. Yeah, really. Then the Prime Minister outlined diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions in the Middle East, involving discussions with G7 leaders and plans for further coordinated measures, and this reflects a commitment to resolving conflicts through diplomatic means and international cooperation. Rishi Sunak then concluded by emphasising the broader security strategy in the Middle East, which includes upholding regional security, investing in two-state solution for Israel and Palestine, and addressing conflicts such as the situation in Gaza. He also highlighted the UK's role in defending values and interests against threats posed by regimes like Iran and Russia. Yeah, if you say so, Mr. Softy. Then Keir Starmer expressed gratitude to the Prime Minister for providing an advance copy of his statement and for regular briefings on the situation in the Middle East. Then offered condolences to the Speaker of the House for the loss of his father, Doug Hoyle, who he praised as a respected figure within the party. He also extended solidarity to the victims of the recent attack in Sydney and acknowledges the heroism of the 3 British aid workers killed in Gaza. Starmer also supported the defensive actions taken by the UK and its international allies against Iranian attacks in Israel, believing that this action is seen as crucial for ensuring regional security and stability. While he acknowledged the success of the defensive action and the importance of supporting Israel, he warned against escalation and emphasised the need to de-escalate efforts, saying diplomacy is essential in preventing further conflict. Then he condemned Iran's actions as destabilising and expressed concerns about their support for terrorism and involvement in conflicts beyond the Middle East, such as in Ukraine, called for sanctions against Iran and measures to limit the power of the Revolutionary Guard. Then, after basically saying Israel can do no wrong, he finally remembered what's happening in Gaza and highlighted it as a driver of tensions in the region. Starmer then urged diplomatic efforts to ensure aid reaches Gaza and calls for a ceasefire and a return to a two-state solution process. Keir Starmer concluded with an appeal for restraint, emphasising that escalation will only lead to further destruction, the importance of avoiding further violence for the sake of those affected by the conflict. Then the Starmer-Sunak loving continued with Israel's right to self-defence, in line with the rights of any sovereign state. The Prime Minister then called
Be smart as well as tough.
Yeah, our softy Sunak actually said the word tough. He then urged Israel to take the win and avoid further destabilisation. Yeah, as if Netanyahu's going to listen to you, Mr. Softy. But anyway, Mr. Soft told the House that the G7 leaders have condemned Israel's attack and expressed full solidarity with Israel, and efforts are underway to coordinate further measures to counter the Iranian regime and its proxies. Our Prime Minister also said we've already sanctioned over 400 Iranian individuals, including Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, at the drop of a hat. Also, additional measures are being considered, and the National Security Act 2023 has provided new powers to deter threats from states like Iran. He then punted the usual: the UK remains committed to a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. Efforts have been made to strengthen the capabilities of the Palestinian authorities for effective governance in the West Bank and Gaza. Then it was the turn of the SNP spokesperson, the legend that is Mhairi, who also expressed condolences to the Speaker of the House and the families of aid workers killed in Gaza, as well as condemning the acts of violence by the Iranian regime, and emphasised the elephant in the room in the need to condemn violent acts by all parties involved, including Israel. You see, Sunak and Starmer, you can criticise Israel. You're not going to go to hell for it, you know. Mhairi then called for upholding the principle of proportionality in responding to acts of violence, then quite rightly questioned the proportionality of Israel's prolonged bombardment of Gaza in response to isolated attacks. She then emphasised the need for political and diplomatic solutions to the conflict in the Middle East, rejecting the idea of a military solution, de-escalation, and also a review of the underlying causes of conflict. Mhairi continued with the ongoing siege of Gaza and identified it as a significant cause of the conflict, underscoring the need for a ceasefire, then requested clarification on the Prime Minister's efforts to ensure that the ceasefire mandated by the UN Security Council becomes a reality. Well, Mr Softy's backside fell out and punted that Israel has an absolute right and duty to provide security for its citizens, especially in response to terrorist attacks. Also underscored the severity of the threat Israel faces and the necessity of its defensive actions. He then punted the Israel government as though the sun shines out of their arses by rejecting the attempts to draw equivalence between Israel's actions and the events over the weekend, then stressed that such attempts are not remotely justified, highlighting the fundamental differences between Israel's defensive measures and the actions of others. While affirming Israel's right to self-defence, Sunak also urged Israel to abide by international humanitarian law. Yeah, fat chance of that happening, isn't there? Then treated the people of Palestine as an afterthought by expressing concerns about civilian casualties and the impact on the population in Gaza. Diplomatic efforts are directed towards alleviating suffering and promoting compliance with humanitarian standards. Then committed to raising concerns about civilian casualties and humanitarian issues with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Like I said, as if he's going to listen to you, Mr Softy. Now, don't get me wrong, I certainly don't have a problem with Israel defending themselves. But what they've done in Gaza is just clearly OTT, isn't it? It's starting to feel like, to me, that the Israeli government can do whatever they like without criticism. For me, Benjamin Netanyahu is just taking the piss, and Western leaders are just allowing him to just take the rise. But what do you guys think? Should Sunak and Starmer start growing a spine and criticise the Israeli government for their actions? And was Mhairi right to highlight the situation in Gaza? Let me know down below and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.